is one of the prominent developing countries and emerging economies that have refrained from joining the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, or ICSID, of the World Bank Group. Now, there is a growing chorus of voices that argue on the benefits of India joining it. So why has India abstained so far, and is it now time for a rethink? To answer that and more, we are now joined by Mr. Vinayak Chatterjee. He's the founder and managing trustee of the Infravision Foundation. Good evening, Mr. Chatterjee. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. Mr. Chatterjee, to begin with, of course, India has decided to stay away from this grouping from its very inception. Tell us a bit more how you see this decision, and also give us some idea about the sphere of influence that this organization has.
Thank you. It's a topic that is seeing a spurt in traction, and as you rightly said, increasing voices which are asking the government to reconsider India's stand. But let's step back a little and look at the total picture. For example, India has had a very deep engagement with the World Bank system. The World Bank has, over the time, advised, guided, and funded a lot of India's developmental projects and initiatives. The World Bank affiliated institutions are also strongly involved with India. They are the International Finance Corporation, which is a World Bank affiliate, and MIGA, which is the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency of the World Bank. These are affiliates which are deeply engaged with the Indian ecosystem. So it is a little surprising that the remaining World Bank institution, the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, ICSID for short, is an institution that India has historically decided to stay away from. And while I don't want to go and delve into history as to why we have not signed up with this institution, the important point to note now is that we should now become a signatory to the institution. Look at who the members are. The members of ICSID are 158 states, independent nations, and many of them are major trade partners and investment partners of India. So ICSID has a fairly broad enlistment of participants, and many of them are our major investment and trading partners. So, as you rightly asked, why should we join ICSID? Now, what is so important about joining ICSID? ICSID has turned out to be a very credible institutional organization which settles cross-border disputes, a dispute between a private entity and a sovereign government nation, right? And over time, it has kind of settled close to 967, about 1,000 cases have been dealt with or are in the process of finding resolution. This is the time, so when there are cross-border investments by a private company into a nation, or by a private company into our country, India, it is in the nature of business that there may arise commercial disputes. All investors are aware of the fact that disputes do occur. It's a natural state of running businesses, that there are commercial disagreements, there are disputes, and often capital invested is at risk. Now, the World Bank system is actually very well embedded in most countries in the world. To the best of my knowledge, they are some embedded with 180 countries all across the world. So they have a very strong interest in resolving disputes, as well as they have a very strong clout to see that once settlements are arrived at, they have their own ways of seeing that these settlements are respected. So coming to the point about India, we are at this very interesting economic journey where we are poised to become the third largest economy in the world, where India is looking to attract $100 billion of FDI in the next years. So there is a lot of foreign investment that is going to come into the country. And it is not that we have not had disputes in the past with foreign investors. We have had disputes with Vodafone, with Cairn Energy, with POSCO, etc. Disputes happen, part of life. Similarly, Indian businessmen are now on a globalization spree. Investments are being made across continents in sectors as diverse as information technology, pharmaceuticals, minerals, energy, manufacturing, and infrastructure. So even our outward investments into other nations need protection. Let me give you an example where Indian investment has suffered. Two leading conglomerates in India had invested in coal mines in Indonesia to feed ultra mega power plants, coastal power plants. And suddenly Indonesia had introduced a royalty stroke cess on coal export. That significantly impacted the viability of very large investments in these two power plants. So it's not that our investments also don't have problems. They have problems. So to cut a long story short, to increase the confidence of Indian investors going abroad and foreign FDI coming into India, both sets of investors would love to have a credible institution that mediates credibly and fairly whenever commercial disputes arise. And you have an institution like ICSID of the World Bank Group. It's, I suppose, only natural in the order of things today to take a fresh look as to why India is not a member and to move one step forward and ask the government to consider becoming a member. But let me stop here.
Right. So you seem to think that it is very crucial that we do become a part of this, given the fact that we are going to see more FDI inflow into the country. But earlier on, you mentioned about trade disputes that we've had with multinationals. For example, say, there was, of course, the Enron dispute, there was Vodafone, there was Kane Energy. Now, if one were to wind the clock back, say about 20 years or so, and if we were to have been a part of this organization at that point in time, how do you think we could have dealt with these situations better? What would have changed?
Well, there has been a lot of furor about retrospective decisions. Nobody disputes the right of a sovereign nation to enact rules and frame policies that provide the stage for investors to decide whether they want to come in or not. But once they come in and you change policies retrospectively, that is often viewed as fairly negative from investors' point of view. Recently also there was a case where a new capital of Andhra Pradesh, Amravati, where Singaporeans had taken a significant interest and stake, was arbitrarily cancelled because the government changed. Now, these send wrong signals and therefore ultimately you end up losing investor confidence. Now, this is something that India would like to avoid. So the difficult question to answer is that it is in the natural order of things that settlement processes, all of them, may not go in your favor. But then that is the level of maturity expected in international business to say that I argue my case, I represent strongly and legally. At the end of the day, if there is a settlement or if there is a judgment or if there is a process that says, folks, this was right and this is wrong and this is the way to deal with it, we should have the maturity to stand up and take that for what it's worth. Sometimes it may be perceived to be against what we would have wanted, but that is the kind of maturity that is being asked for.
All right. So obviously there are clear benefits, as you are suggesting, to join this. But give us a sense of what could be perhaps on the government mind, or why are we still then sitting on the fence?
Look, there are a few arguments amongst people who don't want to join ICSID. One is to say that we are a sovereign nation, and if there is an investment dispute, we have ways and means of settling it in established international arbitration areas, and all contracts today specify arbitration, whether it is in Singapore or London or wherever. So we have a natural recourse to arbitration and appeals to existing institutions. We don't require one more. And subjugating us to the institution affiliated to a lender is possibly not the right thing. Somehow there is a model built up that the World Bank is ultimately a lender to India. We have to repay their debts. And the lender itself, if it has an affiliate which is sitting in judgment on investment disputes, may lead to a certain degree of conflict of interest or asymmetry of partiality or impartiality. That's a prevalent point of view. So the other is that, look, sometimes the judgments could go against us, and that would be egg on our face, politically and bureaucratically, and we cannot afford to have that kind of embarrassment. So these are the 2 points against, but in my opinion, the benefits far, far outweigh these concerns, which to my mind are unwarranted. So let's leave it at that.
So, Mr. Chatterjee, of course, you seem to be a firm believer that this is the way we should be going. Thank you very much for joining us and taking out the time to be with us on this one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.